Pathfinder's grapple cooldown in Season 24 used to suck, and now it's back to being one of Apex's best movement tools. I came back to Apex for the first time since Season 9, and man was I behind on the changes. In Season 24, grapple had a flat 30-second cooldown. It felt sluggish, like Pathfinder was stuck in molasses after every swing. That longer cooldown really killed his momentum and I imagine his pick rate. It was like having Spider-Man powers but with a DMV timer attached. Honestly, it made Pathfinder feel like a worse version of what his character is supposed to be. You'd land a dope grapple and then you just have to wait another 29 seconds to do anything again. It punished creativity, you were afraid to use it unless you absolutely had to. That's not the Pathfinder I remembered from the early days. In Seasons 1 through 9, Pathfinder was chaos and a friendly robot. Back then, his cooldown was a reliable 15 seconds flat. You could grapple across rooftops, swing into fights, and then grapple right back out. This made moving away from the inevitable third-party engagements immensely easier. The cooldown itself wasn't just shorter, it encouraged creative, aggressive plays. Going from that to 30 seconds of a flat cooldown was incredibly jarring for me. Our friendly neighborhood robot just didn't feel like a legend anymore. When I came back this season, I was excited to see the cooldown had improved. At first, I was still playing it like it had a 30-second flat cooldown, so I would grapple and then play it safe out of a quick habit. But after a few matches, I found myself paying closer attention to it. Sometimes my cooldown came back way quicker than I expected. Other times it took forever, closer to that old 30 seconds I was familiar with. The dynamic nature of the cooldown that they apparently brought back, but I didn't realize that it was there before, was definitely a cool way to handle a cooldown. No pun intended. Shorter grapples, shorter cooldown. Longer grapples, longer cooldown. That dynamic style definitely took a few matches for me to get used to, but once I adjusted, I realized how great the system truly is. It rewards smart, efficient movement while punishing mindless flinging. My old muscle memory started to come back slowly. After 2 or 3 games, I was flying at the enemies with confidence again. It was like Pathfinder had evolved without losing his personality, and my playstyle started to evolve with him too. Let's talk about how this impacted rank. I somehow, first of all, reset from Bronze 3 to Bronze 2 between seasons. I'm still not entirely sure how that happened, but hey, I'll take it. By the end of my short session, I went from Bronze 2 to Bronze 1. It's not much, but it's progress in the right direction. Personally, I'm hoping to climb back to at least my peak of Platinum 4 that I had back in Season 9. Back then, I was sweating ranked like it was my full-time job. Now, I've got about 2 to 3 hours a week to grind at most. Even with that, I'm optimistic about my climb in this season. I gotta say, Apex feels a bit more forgiving in ranked than it did as I remember. There's more room to play for picks and repositioning. And honestly, Pathfinder thrives in that kind of environment. His mobility alone makes him a solid pick for pushing and escaping. Before we talk about the gunplay in Apex Legends, I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon community. With their support on Patreon, they unlock cool perks like bi-weekly Overwatch 2 quick play nights that are on stream. I mean, if you're looking to game, chill, and support the content, you might look at the link in the description for Patreon. Alright, back to Apex. The gunplay still hits hard. It's like riding a bike, except the bike has a flat line and an EVA 8. As one of my old favorite combos, they still feel incredibly strong, especially in short range fights. But man, when I found the R99, it's just chaos in your hands, especially when you full kit it. The R301 and R99 combination is still my go-to loadout. It's like pepperoni pizza with ranch to dip the crust in for sweaty FPS players. That versatility and control at practically any range is undefeated. I also had a few golden moments in early fights with the RE45. Honestly, I forgot how reliable that little gun can be. Even though the gun meta shifts constantly, my favorites still seemingly hold up. If anything, they feel more polished now than ever before. Apex's gunplay is still the very best in any of the FPS genre in my opinion. It's tactile, responsive, and just plain satisfying when you can land your shots. Now back to Pathfinder's grapple. I mean, it's everything now. At first, I thought I wouldn't like the new dynamic cooldown, but after a dozen fights or so, I became a total convert. This system rewards intelligent aggression without punishing you for using your abilities. It feels like the devs remembered what made Pathfinder fun. The dynamic cooldown keeps him mobile without making him busted to play into. If you use grapple to reposition cleverly, you'll have it back again reasonably quick. But on the other hand, if you ground pole vault across the map, you're gonna have to wait a bit. It's such a smart trade-off. Mobility with consequences. Compared to Season 24's flat 30-second cooldown, I truly feel this is perfect. Like I said earlier, in Season 24, I'd grapple once and then just have to sit there and hope I got a good position. Now I can stay fluid throughout a fight with good positioning. It gives you more options while still forcing you to think a little bit. That's what what Apex is supposed to be. Tactical decisions, not cooldown prison. I do have some map-specific thoughts I want to share in conjunction with the Grapple because I only ended up playing Storm Point so far during this comeback, and honestly, I think it's the perfect map to test this Grapple cooldown in the wild. Storm Point is massive, wide open, and vertical, basically designed to reward mobility and punish slow legends. But Pathfinder's Grapple flips that on its head with aggressive movement and disengage potential most legends can't really match. First off, Storm Point has some seriously underrated vertical plays for Pathfinder. Places like the Wall and Lightning Rod have high ground advantages made for Grapple exploitations. When you're in those POIs, grapple up fast, break LOS before the enemy team reacts. Lightning Rod especially rewards quick grapple resets. Its vertical stacks let you delay fights on your terms. If you're fighting uphill there, aim high for wall bounces that reset grapples fast after short distances. I know this next one's going to be controversial, but Prowler nests actually help Pathfinder more than I think people realize. While other players get distracted shooting AI, you can grapple out, reposition, or third party those players faster, baiting squads into chasing me in Prowler territory, and then using grapple to flank out in mid-fight is just wild. They end up having to focus the Prowlers for a minute, getting distracted while you loop behind and clean them up with a shotgun or SMG. Also, grappling near the nests and navigating that broken terrain around that area is almost unparalleled for team fights. Stormcatcher might be my favorite spot though to use grapple right now. You've got height, windows, and open air escape routes. Pathfinder heaven. Landing with a perfect line of sight and just melting them with an R301 beam feels so good. As another example, north pads of ramps and cliffs create this triangle of vertical pressure. Great for those, again, grapple resets. If you're better than me at partial grapple resets, you'll be getting a 15-second cooldown pretty consistently. Storm Point has several dead zones between POIs. Grapple gives you free rotational distance constantly. Instead of burning heat shields or meds, I'd grapple onto rocks and rotate wide around squads. The dynamic cooldown felt clutch in these situations. Short grapples meant I always had it ready. Anytime I grappled down into a valley or over a ridge, I'd already be thinking about the reset and where to go next. The moment I touched the ground, I'd start planning the next swing based on cover and angles. This map gives you space to chain grapples in creative ways, and the cooldown complements that. Storm Point turns Pathfinder into a real scout. Grapples aren't just for escaping, they're for intel as well. I can see scouting ahead for the squad, then grappling back without ever wasting a cooldown window. Storm Point made me appreciate the grapple cooldown change more than I thought it would. It adapts to the landscape, your creativity, and your fight decisions. Exactly what Pathfinder should be. This return obviously taught me more than just cooldown mechanics. I learned to pay attention to grapple distance and cooldown behavior. The farther you swing, the longer you wait for it again. I found that my average cooldown hovered around 15 seconds. That means I'm still subconsciously playing the grapple like I did in seasons 1 through 9. There's muscle memory baked into every movement I make, and I want to lean into that instead of breaking it. I can improve by learning when to grapple shorter for resets, or when to go big and escape when necessary. It's all about balance, and Pathfinder seems to reward that beautifully. I was also reminded of how flexible he is as a legend. You can fight long range or short range depending on your loadout. For me, short to mid range is where I prefer, and seemingly shine. That's more about my personal playstyle than Pathfinder himself. All of this to say, if you are just returning to Apex like many of us apparently are, give Pathy another shot. He's easily one of the most rewarding legends to master right now. If you enjoyed this breakdown, you might want to check out this video next where I actually shared my experience returning in Season 24. Spoiler alert, it was chaos, but it's also the reason that I'm back now.